Asia markets are mixed as investors assess China's latest measures to support its stock markets. Oil prices tumble as Trump's tariffs stir uncertainty. Could his drill, baby drill strategy reshape global markets? And Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman pledges to invest a staggering $600 billion into the US economy. Hello, I'm Taiba Aydin with the latest business and finance news here on TRT World. Shares in Asia traded mixed on Thursday as investors assessed a slew of economic data in the region. Chinese stocks led gains with the Hang Seng Index rising 0.75%, while the CSI 300 was up 1% at the open. That's as Beijing's latest measures to shore up its crumbling stock market by channeling hundreds of billions of yuan annually into shares from state-owned insurers. Authorities will call on insurers to invest at least $13 billion of long-term funds into stocks in the first half of this year. While elsewhere, investors continue to have their eyes on US President Donald Trump's policy plans. South Korea's Kospi slipped 0.96% and the Kosdaq traded 0.8% lower as the country's economy expanded 1.2% year-on-year in the fourth quarter, marking its slowest expansion since the second quarter of 2023. For more on this, we're joined by Naeem Aslam in London. He's Chief Investment Officer at Zay Capital Markets. Good to have you back on the programme, Naeem. Now, how significant is Beijing's latest efforts to support its equity markets?
Sure, thanks for having me as always. Look, I think it was imperative for China to do some sort of a restructuring, especially towards its insurance companies, so that they can unlock the massive liquidity trap that we had for the last number of years, so that the fresh capital can really go into the economy. But is this really enough? No, but these are the moves in the right direction. What is enough is more support from the People's Bank of China, and I think we are going to see that in the coming days, especially the fact that now we are talking about tariffs and with the Trump administration's very strong stance towards China. So you would need more of a political stability on that front. You need more support from the People's Bank of China, and of course, overall of these particular financial policies which were stopping insurance companies to invest over in China.
Right, and looking at South Korea now, the economy has grown at the slowest pace since early 2023. What's led to the slowdown, and how can things pick up, especially given the current political challenges?
Sure. So there are two major things with respect to that, and one of them you've already alluded to, and that is your political challenge. So you need political stability in the country in order for businesses to thrive. Because remember, Korea used to have a very strong economy. It wasn't that long ago that we were seeing huge amount of capital flowing into that country. But now we have two major problems. As I mentioned, the first one is the political instability. Number two is the consumer spending or disposable income for consumers. And I think as long as these two particular problems continue to remain anchor in place, you are going to see very meager growth in terms of the GDP in 2025. And of course, the easiest solution is to restore the political stability in the country. And number two, having a more support from BOK, i.e. the Bank of Korea.
All right, Naeem Aslam, we will have to leave it there. Thank you very much as always.
Thank you.
Now, oil prices have slipped to their lowest in a week, largely due to growing uncertainty over US President Donald Trump's tariff policies. Earlier on Thursday, Brent crude futures dipped by 23 cents to $78.79 a barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate eased 18 cents to $75.26 per barrel. Trump has pledged to impose tariffs on the European Union, introduce a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico, and is considering a 10% tariff on all imports from China. This move is particularly significant as China is the world's largest oil importer. Meanwhile, Trump is looking at new sanctions against Russia. He warned that further tariffs could be added if the country doesn't reach an agreement to end the war in Ukraine. These tariffs could potentially extend to other nations involved in the conflict. Joining us from Tbilisi is Merman Margvelashvili, Director of Energy Studies at Ilia State University. Welcome back to TRT World. Now, how could Trump's drill baby drill strategy affect global oil prices amid these tariff uncertainties?
Thanks for having me. First of all, we have to realize that energy market is a pretty complex, interconnected system. So one policy only can push part of the trends, and there are many feedback loops that can play in other work. By all means, the baby drill policy, which means that Trump allows more drilling in new areas, including Alaska and other places. So that will increase the potential for supply of the United States to the global market, but global market may react on its own. So it will depend on what OPEC does, whether there will be other sanctions, how big will be the demand, and you mentioned the tariffs that will probably draw down the economic activity. So all these complex factors have to play together and result in the price of the oil and the global markets. What can be said with more or less certainty that at current prices, high prices, like 80 or 78, as you mentioned, dollars per barrel, United States will have the leverage to draw the prices down. But once it gets somewhere to the $60, then because the production costs in the States are relatively high, then this leverage will be limited.
And what kind of impact could Trump's potential tariffs on China have on the broader energy market?
Tariffs. China is the biggest trade partner of the United States, and a lot of exports from China goes to the United States. Imposing the tariffs will slow down the economic activity in China and is likely to draw down the demand for oil. Therefore, that will be another factor of reducing the global oil prices.
Okay, Merman Margvelashvili, Director of Energy Studies at Ilia State University. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, a quick look at some of the other top business stories from around the world. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has told President Trump that Saudi Arabia plans to invest a staggering $600 billion in the US economy over the next 4 years. He highlighted that Trump's expected reforms could drive unprecedented economic prosperity, creating ideal conditions for investment. Details on the funding source or how it will be deployed have not been provided. Real Madrid has become the first football club to earn over $1 billion in a season, reaching $1.13 billion in the 2023-24 season. This marks the largest lead in earnings over Manchester City in 30 years of Deloitte's Football Money League. The completion of Santiago Bernabeu's renovation boosted matchday revenue to $250 million. Solar power became the European Union's top energy source in 2024, overtaking coal for the first time. Renewables now make up 47% of the EU's energy, while fossil fuels have dropped to 29%. Solar and wind growth have sharply reduced coal and gas use, cutting costs and emissions. Microsoft's LinkedIn is being sued for revealing private messages to third parties without permission. The class action filed on Tuesday is on behalf of millions of LinkedIn Premium customers, saying the information was used to train generative AI models. LinkedIn introduced a privacy setting last August, allowing users to disable the sharing of their personal data. And Samsung has revealed its new Galaxy S25 smartphone, hoping to display its upgraded AI features to boost sales. The phone uses Qualcomm's chips and Google's AI model. Samsung previewed a thinner version of their flagship model, the Galaxy S25 Edge, at an event in California, hoping to launch the new phone in the first half of this year. After months of war and skyrocketing food prices, Gaza's markets are finally seeing things return to some kind of normal. Desperately needed aid has started flowing in after the ceasefire deal, pushing prices for some goods lower. But as Omar Bakalola reports, life for survivors still remains extremely hard.
It's a sight many in Gaza haven't seen in a long time. Markets are alive again, with shelves lined with goods and merchants eager to sell at prices that finally seem within reach. Shoppers carefully pick through fresh vegetables and staple items, a rare moment of normalcy after months of struggle.
3 days before the truce, I could only buy a small item for $2.50 for my son. Now I can buy a bag full of goods and I'm happy.
Shoppers are returning as prices for essential goods have eased following the ceasefire, bringing once unaffordable items back within their budgets.
During the war, we couldn't afford to buy tomatoes. The price of 1 kilo of tomatoes in the south was $22 US. Potatoes were $14 per kilo. However, after the ceasefire was announced, people were finally able to purchase goods again, and the price of a kilo of tomatoes dropped to $2.50 US, allowing citizens to buy them with just a few shekels.
But while prices have started coming down, the challenges are far from over. The ceasefire has allowed aid trucks to enter Gaza, but the influx is still falling short of the immense needs on the ground.
After 7 months, it is the first time I received a food basket from the UN Relief Works Agency, but it is not enough. It will only last a day or two. We need much more, and most importantly, we need things that will keep us warm in the winter.
Meanwhile, Palestinians returning home are finding little left to rebuild their lives with.
Our places and stores are all gone. We are surprised. We thought we would find some place to live in or stay at, but destruction is not normal. The destruction is scary. It's like an apocalypse, to be honest.
For many, the scars of war are too deep to be covered by market bargains. Israel insists it reserves the right to resume its war, leaving Palestinians in constant fear of what's next. Omar Bakalola, TRT World.
Our correspondent Ashraf Shannon is in Gaza for us. Ashraf, what's the current situation with humanitarian aid finally being allowed in? Are you noticing an improvement?
Yes, Taibeh, already people throughout the Gaza Strip have felt some improvement in the markets with more goods coming in addition to a distribution of food parcels to thousands of families through UNRWA, the UN Refugee Agency, as well as the World Food Program. And in addition to the hundreds of aid trucks, there are a number of trucks that come in for local merchants. I mean, for the last several days, finally you can find chocolate or even soft drinks in the market. As far as food items like vegetables and fruits, the prices have gone down a lot, but not as low as they used to be before the war. The prices right now is double the price of what was before the war, but definitely much better than it was before the ceasefire, where you can buy a kilogram of tomato for around $100 at the time. Now it's around $1.50 or $2, for example. But yes, there is improvement, despite the fact that since day one of the war, the huge destruction and bombing has caused the economy throughout the Gaza Strip to collapse.
And talk to us about the new challenges Palestinians are facing as they return to the rubbles of their homes.
Well, people are facing extreme challenges, especially the fact that there's hardly any vehicles left throughout the Gaza Strip. Roads have been completely destroyed. The infrastructure was systematically damaged by the attack since day one of the war. People are going to areas where the rubble is everywhere. The rubble of their homes need to be removed. The bodies of loved ones have to be recovered from under the rubble. For example, there are no building supplies or shelter materials available. So people want such materials to come in order to help, remedy the situation for more than 2 million people who are still struggling with the aftermath of the wartime there.
All right, that was our correspondent Ashraf Shannon in Gaza for us. Thank you for that update, Ashraf. Now, it's day 4 at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, where global leaders have convened under the theme of collaboration for the intelligent age. This year's agenda spans critical topics from enhancing living standards to advancing greener economies. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen emphasised the importance of removing the remaining barriers to achieve a unified EU energy market. Trade tensions are also on the agenda as nations grapple with potential tariffs from President Trump's second term in office. He is expected to speak by video call at the event on Thursday. For more on this, our correspondent Enda Brady is in the city of Davos. Enda, talk us through the highlights of the summit so far.
Well, Taiba, I think there were 3 key speakers who've stood out so far. First of all, President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine urging European leaders to step up and start building defence systems in Europe before it's too late, urging them to spend 5% of their GDP on defence. So Zelensky spoke very passionately. You could hear a pin drop when he was speaking in the conference hall the other day. Yesterday, we heard 2 really interesting speeches from the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. He was scathing about business and its need to get rid of fossil fuels. He said that this addiction to fossil fuels has created a Frankenstein monster, and he said that there are 13 ports that import and export oil around the world, and he said in years to come they won't be able to do it because they will be underwater. So he had a lot to say about climate change yesterday, which is one of the key topics and themes. Now, the organisers also invited along the Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sanchez. He was asked to speak about AI, and at the very start of his speech he said, I don't want to talk about AI, I want to talk about social media. I've changed my speech. Well, there was a lot of shock with the organisers here in Switzerland. Everything is meant to run like Swiss clockwork, so that was something out of the ordinary yesterday for them. And Pedro Sanchez then pointed out that all these tech billionaires who are getting richer and richer, he believes their mission is to destroy democracy. And he said they want to replace votes with clicks and likes. And he said that when social media came into our lives years ago, it was meant to improve people's lives, improve democracy. He said the exact opposite has happened. So for me, those were the 3 key speakers we've heard who've really stood out this week.
And later on Thursday, US President Donald Trump is due to address the summit. What's he expected to discuss?
So we don't know. As ever, predictably unpredictable, Donald Trump will address the conference. He's not here. He is the one topic of conversation. He's the one person everyone is talking about. He's not even here. He will dial in online at 5 p.m. Swiss time, so 1600 GMT, and he will speak. I'm told that some chief executives will be allowed to ask him questions from the floor, but simply nobody in Davos knows what he's going to do. Will there be a trade war with China? Will there be tariffs on goods? It's really interesting talking to some of the senior global financial people here this week. They've all pointed out to me that if America puts tariffs on goods coming into the United States, these other countries will respond in kind. They will do the same. That will lead to a trade war. Prices will go up, inflation will go up, and that will be good for nobody's business. So they've all been at pains here in Davos this week to point out that if Trump goes through with what he's planning and has been saying in all of the months leading up to the election, that tariffs are coming and trade wars are coming, ultimately all business will be damaged and consumers will pay the price. So in a nutshell, we simply don't know what Donald Trump is going to say, but they will listen to him And all of these financial people and the global power players who are here in Davos, they're trying to make their calculations, but they don't even know the questions that will be posed by Trump later on. I think by close of play tonight here in Davos, we should have a much better idea.
All right, Enda, thank you very much for that update from Davos. Now, a centuries-old secret known as local delicacy is gaining attention in Albania. Donkey milk, once praised by Cleopatra for its beauty benefits, is now being turned into one of the world's most expensive cheeses. Abdul Wahab Ayubi has more.
On a small farm nestled in the picturesque mountains of southern Albania, Fatiko and Vez Basha have found a way to turn tradition into innovation. Their secret ingredient? Donkey milk. For thousands of years, donkey milk has been celebrated for its medicinal and cosmetic properties. Legend has it that Cleopatra bathed in it to preserve her beauty and youth.
Donkey milk has the taste of love. It heals children, helps treat respiratory disease, allergies, strengthens the immune system. It was sought after a lot during the COVID pandemic. It's a miracle.
The Basha's farm is home to over 30 female donkeys, along with a few males. Each donkey, treated with care and affection, produces just half a liter of milk per day.
Donkey milk, we call it white gold. We are starting to make homemade cheese.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, donkey milk saw a surge in popularity. The Bashas decided to bring donkeys to their farm and soon expanded their business beyond Albania, selling milk to neighboring countries like Greece and North Macedonia. Now they have taken it a step further, using the milk to create creamy cheese, curd, and whey. But it comes at a price. Donkey milk cheese is one of the most expensive in the world, costing over 1,500 euros per kilo. The demand for this rare delicacy is growing, and restaurants like Ojakat in Tirana proudly feature it on their menus.
Here, we serve donkey's milk cheese as one of the few restaurants in Tirana to serve this very expensive but very tasty farmer's cheese from Gjirokastër.
But the appeal of donkey milk goes beyond the dining table. Pharmacist Fabiola Mezzi has tapped into its beauty benefits, creating a line of cosmetics under her brand Leva Natural.
The donkey milk face cream is really precious. It is quickly absorbed into the skin, and its softness and light fragrance gives a sensation of comfort and freshness.
As the Bashas plan to expand their herd, and with products gaining worldwide attention, the future looks bright for this ancient treasure. Abdul Wahab Ayubi, TRT World.
A small step in size, but hopefully a big one in terms of impact in future medical advancement. Scientists have developed miniature virtual reality headsets for mice in their research into the brain. With the invention, experts are hoping to find a cure for several diseases like Alzheimer's. Pranani Shasta reports.
An unprecedented view into mice brains now lies in front of scientists with the help of miniature VR headsets. Researchers at Cornell University in New York built small goggles to observe the brain activity of mice. They hope it could help reveal how the brain controls memory function, giving them new insights into disorders such as Alzheimer's and potential treatments.
Trying to understand what a certain treatment, which improves blood flow in the brain, how it is working to potentially improve spatial learning and memory. So in order to study what this treatment is doing, we need to use a very powerful microscope and head fix Alzheimer's disease mouse underneath the microscope, and then put it in a situation where it can navigate an environment so that we can assess its spatial learning and memory.
The mouse stands on a treadmill, its head fixed in place, while it peers into a pair of eyepieces. This setup allows researchers to image the mouse's neural activity patterns.
When it's head fixed, obviously the animal cannot actually move around, but this is where the trick of VR comes in, where even though an animal is head fixed, it can still navigate a virtual environment. So having a VR system is very enabling for translational neuroscience.
Isaacson says the mice appear to enjoy taking part in trials that earn them rewards of sugar water or peanut butter. The development of the goggles will continue, and the research team plans to create other versions with better technology suitable for different kinds of rodents. With the help of small mice wearing goggles, researchers get one step closer to the treatments for diseases that affect millions of people worldwide every year. Pınay Nishasta, TRT World.
Well, that's all your business news for now. Thanks for watching. The Newsmakers is up next.